they told him, verse 27, and said, we came into the land whither thou sentest us, and surely it flowed with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. So they went over into the land and they came back with the fruit of it, right? Now, here we go. Now, the negative 10 that I spoke about later. Now, here they go. They finna get ready to talk. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities were walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. The Amalekites dwelled in the land of the south, and the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites dwelled in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwelled by the sea and by the coast. So let's look at this right here. This is heavy. So they went over there, came back with the fruit of the land, had it right there in their hand. So they had fruit in their hand and a frown on their face. Oh my goodness. How can you have fruit? You done been over there, came back with the fruit in your hand and a frown on your face. Come on here. So they saw what was over there. And then they come back and say, nevertheless. When someone says nevertheless, they're about to make a contradictory statement. And a contradictory statement is a statement that says two things that cannot both be true. So what took place here is that they said two things, but both of them could be true. So they're holding fruit in their hand. And then they come back and talk about the giants that was over there that was super big and how bad the land was. So hold on. So when you say nevertheless, that basically they were saying forget about that fruit. I can't go for that because this is what I saw. So here we go with the title. I can't go for that. Yeah, there was some big old fruit over there, but my eye, come on here, can't go over into Canaan because of what I saw. The reason that we cling to what's familiar to us is because it feels safe. It feels comfortable. And what helps people to get motivated is when they start to understand that the path that they're on is starting to cost them. And see, if the 10 would have really been paying attention, they would have understood that the path that their eye was on, come on here, what did I say earlier? The eye leads the head and the head leads the body, was eventually going to cost them. And in the scriptures, we'll find out that the complaining got so bad that they were ready to kill Moshe and Aaron and was talking about, we want to go back. Whew, let me not get ahead of myself right there. That's heavy. So the negative 10 is speaking right here saying that we can't go for that. we seen some stuff over there that we not finna deal with that over there. But watch this. After they got through talking about what's over there, because they saw all the heights, the Amalekites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Canaanites over there by the sea, Caleb said, I can go for that. He's in verse 30, and Caleb stilled the people before Moshe and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are able to overcome it. And it said that he stilled the people. In other words, he hushed the people. He was like, he said, I say, shush. Like Martin used to be saying on the show, I say, shh. He stilled the people and said, I can go for that. So in other words, he was seeing with the eyes of his heart. Joshua and Caleb eyes physically seen the same scenery that the 10 saw, but they got a different interpretation of what they saw. They got a different understanding and they got a different impression of what was going on over there. In other words, your physical eyes can deceive you. So Yahweh will send people with you. Now I'm going to break this down with the 10 and the 2. Yahweh will send people with you that's going to say no, and you're going to say yes. That way, when the yes happens, come on here, it's going to fortify his word. So think about that. So it wasn't an accident. Come on here. Yahweh knew what he was doing. We can't say Yahweh didn't know what he was doing by sending these 10. So when Yahweh sent those 10 with those 2 all together, it was because they were going to say no, but 2 were going to say yes. How many know that it's not the majority, come on here, that rules, but the minority? Come on here, I just got through talking to you about Gideon's army. He broke them from 22,000 down to 10,000, down to 300. Come on here. In this situation, he sent 12 over and he broke them down to 2. Woo! Are you with me on that right there? So Yahweh is going to send them over there, come on here, to say yes, because it's going to fortify it. See, what we have to understand about Caleb right here is that he was tied to the promise. How many of us tied to the promise? Come on here, the same promise that he gave to Abraham, the same promise that he gave to Sarai. Come on here, in the beginning, when he told them that they were going to be a father and a mother of many nations. Come on here. Yahweh made a promise that he was going to give them this land of Canaan. And that's what we have to do, is that we have to be tied to the promise. And when you're tied to the promise, come on here, you ain't got no choice but to move in the things that Yahweh said. What does Yeshua say about the eyes? He says in the scriptures that the eye, come on here, the light of the body is the eye. Therefore, if thy eye be single or thy eye be whole, the body is full of what? Light. But if the eye is dark, come on here, the body is going to be full of darkness. So the comparison of the two here is saying that when your eyes, come on here, see correctly, come on here, you see the light at the end of the tunnel. Come on here. In other words, Caleb, come on here, and Joshua had tunnel vision. They was blocking out everything that was negative. Come on here, everything that the 10 is saying. And this is what we have to do. We have to have tunnel vision, come on here, when it comes to things of Yahweh. In other words, we focused on the light that's at the end of the tunnel. And the 10, come on here, they had tunnel vision also. Their vision blocked out all the positive. Come on here. People, when they block out the positive, come on, they block out the things of Yahweh, and all they see is darkness at the end of the tunnel. Is that all right? So we have to be able to have the eye to see, come on here, that we can go for that. Come on here, I can go for that. Let's move on. So Caleb said what he said. The 10 said, I can't go for that. That fruit look good, but I can't go over there for that. Caleb said, I can go for that. I see that fruit. I want that fruit and I want that land. I can go for that. But watch this. Now we move down to verse 31. Here we go. The 10 said, I don't know what he saw over there. But watch this, verse 31. But the men that went up with him, we be not able to go up against this people, for they are stronger than we. Wait a minute, what? We can't go up against these people. They be stronger than we. When you say that, what does that mean? What was they meaning by they're stronger than we? The question here is, how do you know how strong someone is until you test it? Let me just pause right there for a split second. They were so fleshly pessimistic that they said that they were stronger than them. In the Spartan movie, come on here, when the Spartans was getting ready to go up against the immortals, come on here. In other words, this was an army that was under Xerxes, come on here, that were called the immortals because they were so fierce in battle that they wouldn't die. But one of the Spartans said, the immortals, I'm going to test that. So this was the same spirit, come on here, that Caleb and Joseph had, is that they was going to test that. See, the 10 was working with fear, and fear is such a powerful emotion. It's been known to cripple the mighty and limit the capable. And fear also feeds stagnation. So when you have fear in you, come on here, it causes you to be stagnant. Come on here, in our last episode that we talked about what the F is your problem. Come on here. Fear was the problem. And one of the F's that we learned was freeze. Come on here. So stagnation and freeze are actually synonymous. How many of us know that we need to move forward in the things of Yahweh, but we become stagnant? In other words, we freeze. So the 10, they basically froze up, but not Caleb and Joseph. Let's keep going. Verse 32. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched. Come on here. They went over there and searched it unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search it, it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants, and all the people that we saw in it were men of great stature. Goodness gracious. 33. And there we saw the giants, here we go, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were, watch this, in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so were we in their sight. So they said we saw giants over there. Giants represent problems we face today. Sometimes we believe that the challenges are so huge that they are greater than what Yahweh has said to us. The right eyes will see the stature of Yahweh is on your side, and there's no problem, come on here, that we can't overcome. So the right eyes, come on here, if I can give it by comparison, come on here. How many of y'all used to watch Tom and Jerry? Used to be one of my favorite cartoons as a kid. Two of the characters that appeared on there were these two dogs. Here we go, the dogs again. Was Butch, come on here, and his son. What was his son's name? Spike. There it is. I had to look at it real quick. Butch and Spike. How many remember in the cartoon, every time Spike, Butch showed up, he was the big dog. Tom was always scared to do something to Jerry, which was the mouse, and Spike, which was the little dog. But Spike, every time he showed up, you know, barking and yelping or whatever, Tom looked at him like this little old dog, and he tried to deal with him the way he wanted to deal with him. But every time Butch walked up behind Spike, Tom started to act correct. So what I'm getting to is that those giants over there ain't nothing when we realize, come on here, that Yahweh got our back, just like Butch had Spike's back. Come on here, Yahweh got our back also. So we little dogs, but we got to understand, come on here, that big dog is always going to be behind us at the end of the day. Is that all right? So they said that there was giants over here, the sons of Anak, right? And it said we were in our own sight. Come on here. They said they were in their own sight as grasshoppers. So in other words, they didn't say that they were grasshoppers. They said they were grasshoppers. Come on here. The 10 said that they were grasshoppers. The people over there in the land of Canaan didn't say that about them. But when we look up the word sight, it's a Hebrew word there that means outward appearance, and it means to be displeased. In other words, they were displeased with their self by making this statement. So it posed the question, who taught you to look at yourself like that? Think about that. When you have this negative spirit on you here, this fleshly, motivated, pessimistic spirit, come on here, this spirit, come on here, one of these 10 that we talked about, who told you to look at yourself like that? It wasn't Yahweh. It wasn't the men and women of Yahweh. Who told you to look at yourself like that? That's something to think about. This might be a little bit off topic, but I was talking to my wife a couple of days ago, and she doesn't do this, but it just made me think, why do we use filters when we take pictures of ourselves? It's just something to think about right there. Could it be that negative voice that's speaking to you, telling you that you're not beautiful? Is it that negative voice that told you that you were small? Come on here. In our own eyesight, we were small. Is it that negative voice that spoke to you and said that you were insignificant? So the question here is, how do you view yourself? And this is the way that they were viewing themselves. They said that we were as grasshoppers in their sight. This is something heavy to really think about and to look at right here. So I can't go for that. Come on here. It's because we have a negative view of ourselves. We displeased with who we are. All right. So I'm finna start wrapping this thing up. Correct me if I'm wrong, but most people, when it comes to these 12 individuals that I spoke of, why is it that we can only remember 2 of them? Right now, quickly, think about it. Give me the 10 that I just spoke about. It's almost hard to do. Why don't we hear people saying that they want to hear about, let me hear about the adventures of Shemuel? Why people say I don't want to hear about, tell me a story about Shaphat. Why don't people say I want to hear about Ilgal? When you look at this stretch of names right here, what happens is that we read them once and we automatically stop talking about them. 10 of these 12 men, as I said, they represented negative spirits. But if we're not careful, people that should have no voice in your life will distract or derail your entire calling. You'll know who these people are because these people won't have a desire. They won't have anything in them to want to support you when you're on a mission for Yahweh, when you're doing the will of Yahweh, when you're doing the will of God. These people will always want you to compromise, talking about these 10 spirits. Come on here, like I said earlier, they'll be talking about, let's go back when you read further in the scripture. But there's bad news. We're just like Caleb. Come on here. We're just like Joseph. I got bad news for you. We're built, come on here, for this. We're built to move into the things of Yahweh. Come on here. We're people that's built, and we believe in the name of Yeshua. We believe in repentance. Come on here. We believe in being filled with the Holy Spirit. And we also believe that men should be men and women should be women. There's a bunch of people in the Bible that I got to look their names up every time I want to know something about them. You know why? It's because they're insignificant to me. Negative people ought to be insignificant to you. In other words, these are people that want the fruit and that don't want the fight. We got to understand, if we want the fruit, come on here, the things of Yahweh, we're going to have to fight with them. Don't you know that when you fight for something, at the end of the day, it tastes so much better? Come on here. I fought for my wife. Come on here. This relationship that I have tastes so much better. Come on here. I fight to know the things of Yahweh. The relationship that I'm building with the Father tastes so much better. Come on here. We got to fight for those things that Yahweh send us out to do. When we come back with that fruit, come on here, we got to understand that there's going to be a fight with that fruit. And I want to share just a little bit of history with you, somewhat of a little bit of history buff. During the Spanish Inquisition, back in 1519, there was a man by the name of Hernan Cortez, and he led 11 ships with 500 men to the shores of Mexico to go take over the Aztec country. On his way to the country, on his way over to the Aztecs, The Aztecs have been on this land for about 600 years, and they dominated this land. The Aztec army, they were undefeated. Anybody that went up against them, they couldn't do nothing with them. But Cortez, when he was headed over with his 11 ships and his 500 men, we're talking about not enough men, period, to take over the millions that was over in the Aztecs country. But they'll start to begin to whisper amongst the crew, we should take some of these ships and go back where we came from. But that whispering got to Cortez, who was the captain of the ship. It got to his ears, and before they even docked, he said something to the people so that they can stop the murmuring and the whispering. When we land these ships, the way we coming back is we're going to come back on the Aztec ships. And he went on further to say something that had to send shockwaves through his men. He said, burn all of our ships. So when we burn these ships, we have nothing to go back to. So in burning these ships, it had to put something on the minds of those soldiers, on the minds of the men, that they couldn't go back. The only thing they could do was to proceed forth. So this is an example of what Caleb did. This is an example of the mentality of Caleb and Joseph. This is the same mentality that we have to have, is that we have to plow forward into the things of what Yahweh wants. This channel, it was designed to build bridges, but right now, one time only, this is a sale. We're getting back to the sales. I'm telling you, it's time to burn bridges. And these bridges that I'm talking about are bridges that connect you back to the things that Yahweh delivered you from. What did Yahweh deliver you from in your life? Come on here. Did he deliver? What was your Egypt in your life? What was your bondage in your life? What was the fear that was going on in your life? What did you come from that the Father delivered you from? What I'm telling you is that we have to advance. We have to move forward. As the scriptures goes on in Numbers that we was reading, we'll find out in Numbers 14 and 37 that eventually Yahweh killed off the 10. It said that they died from a plague. So these 10 are always going to be here. But what I'm saying to you is that we have to kill these off. And we have to ask ourselves, what is the negative voice that's in your family? Is it your boyfriend? Is it your girlfriend? Is it your husband, your wife, your co-worker, family, friend? What are the negative things that you're entertaining? Come on here. What is your eyes going for? Come on here. Is it something negative on TV or social media? We have to make a choice today and say, I can go for that. If Yahweh said to do it, I can go for that. My eyes see it. My head is going to turn towards it, and my body is going to follow. The other side of that, if it's negative, my eyes see it, my head going to turn to it, and my body going to say, I can't go for that. All right, there you have it, folks. So we dealt with 10 spirits, negative, that's always going to be around us, and we dealt with 2 positive spirits. I admonish you to have the spirit of Caleb and Joseph. And as always, I think every message should finish off with 2s. What are the 2s? I ain't got but 2 for you right here. Another 2-for. Well, we got deals going on all day here, I'm telling you. 2, number 1. Read and rehearse this scripture. And I'm going to read it for you. Proverbs, write this down, 3, 5 through 7. Trust in Yahweh with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thy own eyes. Fear Yahweh and depart from evil. That's tool number one. That's heavy. Tool number two, block them, unfollow them. And this goes for social media, because you like this, okay, that's social media. This goes for real life also. I've had to do this throughout the course of my life, and I believe that we all should. We need to block and unfollow people that's not doing the will of Yahweh. Come on here. Who are we calling our friend? Yeshua said the one that does the will of the Father, that is my friend. So that's my friend. Those are the people that I could desire to build bridges with, to connect with. Come on here. I don't want to connect myself to self-destructive individuals, people with a spirit of condemnation. I don't want to connect myself no more to negative kinfolk. I don't want to connect myself no more to the escapist spirit. I don't want to connect myself no more to the spirit of fortune and luck, that religious and that traditional spirit. I don't want to connect myself no more to those secretive people that want to pry into your business. I want to connect myself to people that's connected to hidden things. And I don't want to connect myself to the spirit of facade, the people that be fronting. And my wife's favorite word, them fake people. I think I'm kind of doing her face because that's how she said, them fake people. So we need to block them and unfollow them. And in closing, I'm going to leave you with this quote from Tupac Shakur. He said, "Don't believe everything you hear. Realize. Think about that. I'm going to say it again. Don't believe everything you hear, because realize. And this is the end of this message. I hope it has blessed you. I hope you start to really understand what it means when you say, I can't go for that. How are you looking at it? Negatively or positively? And again, as Bill Cosby said, it depends on who's pouring and whether I'm just drinking. Thank you.